So, welcome to the podcast, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I am really excited to go into this conversation because this is a conversation that we have not had yet on this conversation. But I want to start with, in this moment in time in your life, what is that thing that's lighting you up the most?
Oh, I want to say it's love. It may sound corny, but it's totally love. I'm in that place in my life where I realize like that's the only thing that really matters and kind of keeps us going. And I feel like that's what we're here on this earth to learn about exclusively is love. So that keeps me
Oh,
going.
yes. Just lighting up my heart. Sorry, we're getting out of the gate, guys. We're talking all about love. We're talking about loving yourself, standing up for yourself, all the, just leaning in deep to this love. So, has love always lit your life up like it is now?
No, I want to say I think I've had, I want to say dark moments that happened. My boyfriend passed away about 3 years ago. So I can't say that it's always guided me, but when he passed, I delved right deeper into love. I want to say I was brought to it. I think that I was meant to experience love with him before he left the earth. And then that's what I think my mission then became because I had such a strong love with him and that connection. And I realized this is what this is about. It's about, I think I've been wondering that a little bit, like, why are we here? And then for me in particular, I was wondering what was my purpose also for a very long time. Just to background, I used to be a former HR professional for 22 years and I wasn't fulfilled in it, but I didn't stop and really say, no, this isn't fulfilling you. Like, what are you doing? I just kept on. It was easy. It was comfortable. So I stayed there. But I think, when he passed, I looked at love differently. And then I started looking at self-love a lot more. And I realized that it wasn't there completely like I thought it was. I thought it was for me at the time, if I was going to get a massage or I treated myself to something like that, I thought, oh, this is self-love. I'm taking care of myself. I realized it goes a lot deeper than that. It goes a lot deeper. I want to say for me on the daily, am I eating properly? Am I nourishing this body, this vessel I was given? So that's part of the love, that I give myself. Am I giving myself enough water every single day, hydrating? That's part of it, I realize. So it just goes a lot more deeper. And I want to share that message with others. It goes a lot deeper than the massage or the occasional facial or getting your nails done. And those things are great too, but it goes deeper.
Yeah, and I think that we're finally starting to understand that as like a society of like, okay, we've thought for so long self-love, self-care was those bubble baths, those massages, those pedicures, but it really is sitting in a practice of being with self and accepting self. So I want to know, like, what's your favorite self-love practice that's outside the norm of what we hear every day?
Outside the norm, I mean, I meditate. I don't know if that's totally outside the norm because a lot of people do that, but that meditation is very important to me daily. I do it daily every single morning. It's part of just like me brushing my teeth at this point in my life. And that's important for me to sit in that space in the morning for myself, to ground myself, like where I want to be and where am I going today? What are we doing? What are we tackling? So that gets me there, that meditation time. And it could be only 5 minutes sometimes, I'll be honest. I used to beat myself up. It had to be a certain period of time or a certain amount of time. Now I realize, okay, if all I have is 5 minutes, I can go in deep now in those 5 minutes and it works for me.
Oh, oh. So you said that you were in HR. Did you make the switch like shortly after you losing your partner, or did you like, I want to know the juicy story of, because I know that that's not what you're doing right now, and I'm just like, I
Yeah.
love going deep.
Yeah, when my boyfriend passed, he passed in 2019, and probably about 3 months after he passed, I felt compelled to start writing about it and journaling. I've always journaled my entire life, but it was like this pull, this internal pull, like pulling me out. And where I lived at the time, I was in upstate New York, and there was a pool in the building that I lived in. So I just felt very compelled to go sit by the water every day by that pool after work and start writing. And I was writing very quickly. And that's when I kind of knew, oh, wait a minute. I said, my pen was literally writing faster than it normally had. And I knew, okay, wait a minute, this is blessed, first of all. And I'm like, and then I also knew something else is with me, spirit's with me, something's going on here. So it wasn't my intention to write a book, but writing that out, different things were coming out of me, and it was very quickly. So then at the end of 2019, I realized in that journal, the whole journal, I'm like, I have a book on my hands, and I'm a private person. historically. Let me make that clear. I wasn't on social media. I wasn't out there. So now me putting this memoir out there about intimate details of a big chunk of my life, it was scary. So I took all of 2020 basically thinking about, will I do this? And I kept getting the nudge while I was meditating. No, you're meant to do this. You're meant to do something else. Your voice is meant to be heard differently than it has been. Um, but that took a lot for me to grapple with, that a whole year of me saying, you can't do this. Oh, you can't. What if this? What? And I went back and forth. And then to be honest, it was probably around the summer of 2020. My mother comes to me in my dreams a lot. She's on the other side also. She had passed about 14 years ago. When he passed, she was coming around more in my dreams and things like that. So I had this odd dream of, her telling me that she had been let go, like when she was working in her heyday, in a sense, and that really didn't happen. So I started getting a feeling, I think my career may end on its own. I felt strongly, like really strongly. So I just started putting my ducks in a row and I said, you know what? If it's going to end on its own naturally, I kind of said, let it go. I got the feeling I'm going to self-publish this book and I'm going to do something different now. Like I'm going to turn my life in a totally different direction. And I knew that my boyfriend was probably behind it on the other side. I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. Um, so then that ended up happening. By the end of 2020, my career ended. My company I was at packaged me out, but it was a good thing. I had been there for about 14 years, I want to say. But those around me, I want to say they were a little bit more in shock. And I was kind of like, hey, it's cool. The path is already kind of paved a little bit. I just need to step into it. But, to be honest, right before, I was notified, I already knew I would obviously, like I said, self-publish this book. So my intention was not to stay there. Once the book came out, I wanted to kind of explore this avenue on its own, without being tied to a job daily and those responsibilities. But the universe wanted me out of there sooner, and they were like, here you go. So then I just began 2021 on a total new page, being an author, and I'm a Reiki master, and I'm coaching and mentoring. So it's a totally different space, and I love it. It's been amazing, an amazing journey.
And what is your book called?
It's called Mark My Love, and it's a memoir. It goes into, I talk about a little the passing of my mom, what I went through with that, the passing of my boyfriend, but it's all about love. Let me make that clear. I don't talk about the love as the loss as much as it's engulfed in love. And then I talk about a lot of losing my own self-love and how that transpired from when I was younger, and whether it be being criticized about my body at an early age, and that dampened my self-confidence. But it took up until now in my 40s to realize that. I didn't realize there was such a strong wound in there. So that's in the book too. So there's a lot of self-discovery. And I know it's meant to help others in a sense of, okay, I'm doing something different entirely with my life. It also shows them, look, I went through these struggles we all go through. I got back up. Both losses impacted me differently in how I dealt with them. And that too is in the book. So I hope that it also, enlightens other people, because I think that I was probably in a little bit of a darkness for a very long time and didn't realize it. And I think some of us stay in that darkness because we don't want to move on for different reasons. And the light started to come back in my life for different various, ways. And then I just started following it.
Cool. Yeah. And when you write with love, I really feel like the emotion that you put into your page. And like you said, it was divinely guided. It was like something was coming through you. I really feel like that's when we start making that bigger impact, where we actually, somebody picks it up, our writing or whatever it is. And it's like, wow, I'm not alone.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of that. People who have read it have told me it's very raw in my emotions. And I said, that's how it came out. Like I said, I didn't sit down to write a book. So whatever you're reading is while I was journaling. And I was crying the entire time. Let me make that clear, while I was writing it. But it was also very cathartic for me, crying the entire time. But it also shows that genuineness of it. It wasn't crafted in a sense of, oh, this is going to sell. It was crafted with love out of my heart completely, and in that honest, vulnerable space.
Oh, it was so beautiful. So where can people find the book? Because I know you said it was self-published.
Yeah, you can find it on BookBaby, and it's also on Amazon. And then I have my website, jennifermalemany.com. The clicks are there as well to get it.
Okay. Oh, and we'll make sure to get all that information in the show notes. I want to know a little bit more about, like, you also mentioned like Reiki and
Mhm.
coaching and all of these other things. And I'm like, not that I don't want to keep talking about the book, but I know that you're helping people in like this bigger, deeper level. And I mean, Reiki is such a beautiful form of, I'm a Reiki master and teacher actually. And it's not something that I ever really talk about, but it's such a beautiful healing tool. And I'd love to know, like, is this something new, or is this something that you have been doing all of your life?
No, that's something newer. I want to say I've had a couple of Reiki sessions in my history when I got into that space of learning yoga and coming into that quarter of my life. But I want to say I was brought. It was probably a few months after I transitioned out of my job. I was just felt something came into my space, like it literally popped into my email about taking Reiki, and then I was like, you know what? I have some time. Let me do it. Let me try. And it was this was obviously, in the midst of the pandemic, obviously that we're all still, dealing with. So it was online, and it was such an amazing experience. I was, it was through the course of a weekend that I took Reiki 1 and 2, and you're talking like tears were flowing, energy, like with all these different people, and I was like, wow. And I knew I was meant to dabble into that space a little bit more. I didn't become a Reiki master until December of this past year, but that too, I didn't have a plan, like, okay, I'm going to do this and then become a Reiki master. I literally was called to it, and it's changed my life since. As I became attuned to, master, it was like, wow, another door in a sense opened up for me. I practice Reiki on myself every single day, in the morning and the evening, extra if I need to throw something in there. And it's worked so well for me. And I tell people that, knock on wood, however you want to put it, I haven't had any health down major, just little blips here and there, but not much. And I know it's because of Reiki, and I use it every single day. I use it on my dog, you know. And I also have clients that have gotten word of mouth through family members or friends. So now it's kind of growing in that space. I do hope to become a master teacher probably this summer. I feel like that's coming through now a little bit, that I'm going to do that next. Um, so that's with the Reiki. And then I want to say the coaching and mentoring. I've always been a mentor. I want to say throughout my entire career, I was mentoring a lot of, I want to say, young adults and high school students. That's how it started. I wanted to be a teacher, to be honest, when I went to school originally. I have a degree in early childhood education. So that's always been a little bit of, I've been that guide, I want to say. And that too is just broken out, where the few clients that I have, they've really listened to how I navigated my life, and, especially during the past few years. And I want to say that things are manifesting for them a little bit quicker than than it did for myself. I say, so I want to say that people are taking my teachings and guidance and just kind of taking it to a next level. And I think that's an amazing thing. Um, but it's all about love. I love what I do. I love this space. And that's what I feel that during the coaching, the mentoring, the Reiki, I'm spreading love that way, that energy, right? Because that's what's coming through from my, inside. So, and my heart.
Yeah. And it sounds like once you've leaned into this love thing, that universe has been giving you nudges, partially because you're open to hearing them now. But I also believe that once we lean in to that love, whatever that love is,
Yeah.
that things really are just like put in front of us randomly. You're like, oh, okay, it's time.
Yeah, yeah, and I have a few folks that are very close to me that are just like, "Wow, these things just seem easy for you." They're just like, "You said I'm gonna do this, and then it's there." But I know that that's part of it. I know that, like I said, my mother had passed 14 years ago, and she was a single mom, so that was a very strong loss for me, right? She was my mom and my dad and my best friend, and I didn't lean into the love after she left my life. I leaned into the loss and the grief, and that there was something missing. So when my boyfriend passed, I think the universe had me lean the other way and say, You had these losses, but look at those strong loves that you had. Like, what strong love?" And I realized it. And then it kind of just bled into then me loving myself more. And then it just grew. And now my heart is just like completely open. It's growing and growing immensely. And I know I'm blessed because of it.
And how does that approach, because now that you've opened up and you're like completely open, and I can tell that, like if you're doing Reiki, you're able to pick up other people's energies. How that now that you've cracked open, because this podcast, we are mostly women spiritual entrepreneurs. How do you protect yourself from all the crazy in the world, because there's so much crazy energy. And for me, I'm always absorbing that. And I'm like, I have a practice to get rid of it, but I love to know what other people do to kind of keep the good in and the
Yeah. Yeah.
protect from the bad
It's
when you're
part of
that
my,
open.
yeah, it's part of my daily ritual also. In the morning, I also do, like just, I want to say like a grounding protection for myself. I do that every single day, and I do it before I go outside. And then I also clear my energy before when I come in from outside. So I noticed that lately, if I don't do that grounding before I go out, I've noticed, like you said, I pick up very quickly people's energies. I just went to the drugstore the other day, and I forgot for whatever reason to do it. And I'm in there, all of a sudden I was feeling kind of funny, like, and I didn't know what it was. And then I realized, oh, I didn't protect myself before, I didn't do that ritual before I came out. And then I said something quickly out loud while I whatever, and that feeling went away while I was out there. So I do make that also part of my daily ritual. You have to protect yourself, especially in that Reiki space. And like you said, I pick up on stuff very quickly, and it's even more so when I became master. It became more, and now it's been more enhanced. 6 months after. So I realized, oh, I have to do that protection, or I'm going to be picking up things left and right. And I live here in New York City, so that's even,
Oh,
it's everywhere.
like everywhere.
Right.
I couldn't imagine living in a big city. I'm like, oh, I'm too sensitive. Like, I go to big cities. I'm not that far from San Francisco. Whenever I wander into the city, I'm like, okay, protection bubble on. Okay, now we
Mhm.
can go.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I think that there's like so many important things that like I'm hearing is like this really, it did start from within. It started with that unconditional love for self. And like you said, people around you are saying, like, oh, it's so easy for you. But sometimes that unconditional self love wasn't easy. It was work. But once you get there, it sounds like it's a magical, magical place to be.
Yeah, it's like I describe it as you feel free, like you're really free, and I think, like you said, from inside, and I think I realized, I came to that conclusion that I had a little bit of a prison inside myself, and I think we all do that. We keep ourselves in this, a little internal, prison for whatever reason. So I think I let myself out of that jail. It may sound cliche, but that's the word I use for it. It's total freedom, where I realize it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about me in that aspect. I'm here to do what I'm supposed to be doing. So it's kind of guiding me.
Yeah. Oh, getting out of the prison of ourselves. Wow. Letting go of all the stuff that's been programmed into us all of our
Yeah,
lives. It's
yeah,
just, I love that you are supporting others with
yeah.
like getting out of that prison, stepping in. So what's the favorite thing about coaching? What's your absolutely favorite thing?
I think just hearing people's experiences, I have to say, I'm fascinated. I'm like, wow, we all live such different lives, but yet it may sound weird, but we're all still the same, right? We still have that heart, blood that runs through our veins. But it's definitely hearing different experiences where I'm like, wow, I'm just fascinated.
I love coaches that are rooted in love, like regardless of the type of coaching, whether it's business, life, and I know that you also help people through loss, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm not a grief coach, but I people obviously know my story. They know that it started because of the loss, basically, right? Um, so I go there with people if they need to, of course, obviously. I'm comfortable speaking about grief and that space. And I know it's not a comfortable place for many people. And because I'm so comfortable in it, and I've gotten more comfortable in it over the years, I go there gladly if someone wants to bring up loss and how they're navigating it. Because I strongly feel that I don't know if we ever really get through the loss that we've had. We just learn how to navigate it. We learn how to love a little differently and kind of just work our way. And those people are still with us in some fashion, but we just learn how to kind of just be without them here physically over time. We learn how to navigate that.
Yeah. I also feel like for me, when I went through a lot of like grief, I was grieving losing parts of myself too, like the loss of a previous version of me. And I know that that's not the same as losing somebody, but it really did affect like grieving, and loss is a huge part of what makes us who we are.
Yeah, it's probably part of the cycle. but we're all going to experience that, right? We're all born onto this earth, and then we're all going to leave this earth eventually at some given point. So it's something we're all going to experience, and that's why I think I want to say my entire life I don't want to say guided towards that space of grief, but I remember in high school taking some classes. They had elective classes we could take, and there was classes about death and dying. And I remember family members like, "Why are you taking this class?" And I just I felt drawn to it, and I think that's when I started being a little bit more comfortable in that space than the average person, and then it just grew over time because of my own life experience.
Yeah. And I know that one of the other things that you believe strongly in is it's okay to not be okay every day.
Yeah, yeah, because we put so many hard things on ourselves, right? Society puts things on us, and then we're hard on ourselves. And I want to say the most important thing is giving ourselves grace. You may step back every now and then where it's not a great day, right? Like you were doing great, and then maybe one moment there's a blip, and it happens. So I want to say you have to give yourself grace in that, just like you're going to give someone else grace and being, nice to someone else that's going through something. Give that grace to yourself and say, hey, it's okay. It's okay that you're not having a great day today. Let's navigate through it, and then let's see what tomorrow brings, and then wake up. And I always tell people, just make sure you're really starting that day fresh, right? You open your eyes, it's a new day. Don't think about the past or what happened yesterday. You have to live in that moment, because that's all you have is today, and how, what you can do.
Yes, live in the moment, be present with yourself. I that's one of the things I've been adding is like getting present every morning because I have a tendency, you know, I'm still working on it of waking up and being like, "Oh, I didn't do this yesterday," or "I should have done that," or too much forward thinking, and it's like you forget this moment right now and how beautiful it is. It's like, "Thanks legs for standing up today. I appreciate you."
Yeah, yeah, and it's a different life, because I want to say now, I wake up every single day, I open up my eyes. The first thing I say is, "Thank you for giving me another day." And I didn't do that before the loss of my boyfriend. I was grateful for my life, but not like that. I didn't say thank you for just opening my eyes, and then I take it from there. But my life is the gratitude is there throughout the day. I'm consistently saying thank you for certain things. It could be small little things, right? I have clean water. I thank the universe for that, because a lot of people don't. And I don't think that we look at those little things anymore, right? We want to be grateful for these big things that go on.
Yeah.
And I just tell people, go back to the small, and you'll see how that opens up your space as well.
Oh yeah, being grateful for everything is it's a game changer. It really does. It adds to that freedom that you're talking about of breaking
Yeah.
free from that prison. It's like, oh, I'm great, like water, a roof over your head. For me, it was standing up in the morning because for a while it was almost impossible because I was in so much pain to stand up. So that's why I thank my legs every day. I'm like, thanks for getting me through all the stuff we've done.
Yeah. Yeah. And it may sound strange, but I think I just started doing that more recently, where, yeah, I was thanking different parts of my body, thanking my limbs or whatever, for whatever reason it came to me, but they had me. It's like the universe wanted me to start thanking that too, because this is the vessel that keeps me here and keeps me going, right? This body. So being thankful for it. That's important, because for me also, like I said earlier, that self-confidence, it lacked in my life over the years. So I wasn't always nice and thankful to my body. I was criticized, very early because of little weight maybe that was, on my body as a young girl, and that hindered a lot of things. So I spoke bad to my body a lot of my life, and now I'm not, and I'm making up for it, and I'm cherishing it, and it knows it. But it's just I want to put that message out there to people too, especially women, right? Because we struggle with that a lot, and it's society puts too much space in that space, and they don't realize how damaging it could be to so many. So
Oh, that's so juicy. I'm like, oh, everything all rooted in love. I'm just,
yeah,
yes, please sign me up. I want all the things to be rooted in love. I mean, that's why I created this show is a tsunami of love because I'm like, we're too magical and there's too much greatness inside love to be a
yep,
ripple.
yeah, absolutely. And it generates even more love. At least I believe that, right? You have love in your life, your family members, whatever it may be, an animal, whatever goes on. When you live in that space, it just multiplies. We've talked about it, right, throughout this whole podcast. These things multiply when you go into that space. So that's why I urge people to Coming to the light, basically, right? It sounds whatever, but really, it's that's the space to be. And I think that we're all here to help each other. Like you said, if we're all sharing our stories, we can help so many others, heal and navigate, these things that go on.
Yes, for sure. So where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, jennifer.m.alemany. My website is jennifermalemany.com.
If someone were to walk away with just like one little mic drop, that moment, that thought that they take with them, what would you want that to be?
Always know that